Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ravens flock. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Ravens flock. For the first time in a month, I can say this statement. The Baltimore Ravens have won a football game. Wow, it has been that long since the Ravens have won a game. The Ravens came into this game on a 4-game losing streak, with them sitting at 1-5 and their season essentially being on the line. Lamar Jackson was unable to play today. The Ravens ultimately decided to not put him at risk because they played 2 games in the span of 5 days. So they ultimately chose, with the amount of time he practiced, they felt it wasn't enough. They said, we're going to go to Tyler Huntley. Huntley got the start here in this game, in a game where the Ravens' season was on the line. And I cannot lie to you, today's performance by the Ravens was easily the best team performance they have showcased all season long. This was the most complete game the Ravens have played from start to finish this entire season. Offensively, they did what they needed to do. Defensively, they did what they needed to do. The coaching staff did their jobs. There wasn't any moment where you looked at the coaching staff and said they were doing something ultimately dumb or extremely dumb. There were some things that you felt could have been better executed, or maybe a better play call here and there. But the defense, for the most part, did their jobs, and the offense, for the most part, did their jobs. And when they needed to make plays, plays were made. You were taking on a Chicago Bears team that was coming in on a 4-game winning streak and were looking to win 5 straight for the first time since 2018. And you responded well. So when we actually look at this game, let's talk about the play-by-play. Opening drive started out with the Chicago Bears getting the ball. They went down the field and nearly scored a touchdown, but they were ultimately stopped by rookie edge rusher Mike Green. He got his first career sack in this game. So congrats to Mike Green getting your first ever career sack. He sacked Caleb Williams to stop the Chicago Bears from getting in the end zone. So they are forced to settle for a field goal on their opening drive. Baltimore gets the ball on their opening drive and they go 3 and out. That brought an immediate concern, because if Tyler Huntley and the offense can't get themselves going, it doesn't matter what the defense can't do. We have no chance to win here. Chicago gets the ball, and again, they go down the field, but once again, they are stopped short. If there's anything the Ravens defense has done a decent job of doing this year, has been red zone defense. They've actually done a really decent job in making stops at the goal line. Now, they haven't had a lot of moments where they've been on the goal line, and a lot of times they're giving up a lot of huge chunk plays. But for the most part, today they did a relatively good job at the goal line. They hold the Bears defense to yet another field goal. 6-0 Bears. From there, Tyler Huntley and the offense on their second possession of the game. Huntley and the offense, they go down the field. 12 plays, 62 yards. That ends in a Derrick Henry 2-yard rushing touchdown. They go down the field, they're executing, they're making plays. The offense is working well within the rhythm of the system. They're doing everything they need to do. Tyler Huntley's making smart decisions with the ball. He's making great passes and doing what he needs to do. Touchdown Ravens. The Ravens get the lead. They're up 7-6. The defense comes out here and they force a 3 and out. They force the Chicago Bears to punt the football. So a 3 and out forced here gives the Ravens an opportunity to extend their lead just before halftime. The Ravens get the ball. They go down the field and they end up having to put up a field goal. The Bears defense makes a stop around the goal line area, and ultimately the Ravens are forced to settle for a field goal. 10-6 Ravens. The Chicago Bears, they get the ball back with about a decent amount of time, just under a minute, to try to go see if they can put some points on the board. They get into field goal range just before halftime, but they ultimately miss the kick. So Baltimore goes into halftime with the lead, up 10-6, and getting the football coming out of half. The Ravens get the football coming out of half. They go down the field, but once again, they're not quite executing as well as they need to do in the red zone. They're getting points out of this, but they're not scoring touchdowns. Once again, they are forced to settle for 3. They score a field goal. It's 13-6. The Ravens defense comes out of the locker room red hot once again. They force another 3 and out. A great stop on 3rd down by Roquan Smith to make the tackle forces the Bears to ultimately have to punt the ball. They go 3 and out. Baltimore gets the football back again. One thing you got to say here about the Ravens offense is that they were finding ways to put points up. They were not really punting the ball much in this game. They were finding ways to put points on the board, even if it was field goals, field goal, field goal, field goal. They were putting points on the board and they were not coming away with empty possessions. That was key in today's game. So it's 13-6. Baltimore gets the ball. They go on another long drive and they once again can't punch their ticket into the end zone. They ultimately score a field goal. It's 16-6 now. Now we're in the fourth quarter. The Ravens up by 10. Chicago knows they need to put points on the board. They've got to go score a touchdown. And they do so. They go 11 plays for 83 yards and 6 minutes taken off the clock. They score a touchdown. DeAndre Swift ultimately got the touchdown there, the 2-yard touchdown run on the goal line to score a touchdown and make it a 3-point game. And now you're sitting here with this being a 3-point game, knowing Baltimore's season's on the line. They have to respond here. The offense, unfortunately, were not able to get anything going here. This would be the second punt of the game for the Ravens at a very brutal time. They're forced to punt the football, and they give it back to the Bears. Now, shout out to our punter, Stout. Stout made a fantastic punt. It dropped them around the 2-yard line, and ultimately this led up to the biggest play of the game. So they're at the goal line, and they're trying to get out of it. On second down, Caleb Williams, he drops back. It's play action. He drops back. He's open in the end zone. He's trying to get this play going. He's once again targeting Nate Wiggins, who I have to say, Nate Wiggins today was actively getting targeted on multiple occasions. Caleb Williams was consistently throwing the ball in Wiggins' direction, and Wiggins was giving up a lot of these plays. He wasn't doing a good job in really making the stops. He was getting the tackles, but he wasn't doing a good job in coverage and was consistently getting beat. So he was having a rough game for the most part. So once again, Caleb Williams looks in the direction of where Nate Wiggins is and tries to get it to the receiver right there. He tries to get it to Adonzie, and Nate Wiggins makes an amazing play. He essentially runs the route, undercuts the route, gets right in front of Adonzie, intercepts the ball, takes it for 9 yards, and just like that, Baltimore is in position to score because it's first and goal now for the Ravens. Nate Wiggins gets the interception in a crucial moment for the Ravens where they needed to make a stop or make a big play to get the ball back to the offense. Nate Wiggins with the interception that changes the tide of this game. And 2 plays later, Tyler Huntley finds Charlie Kolar wide open coming across the middle of the field. He takes it into the end zone. Touchdown Ravens. It goes back up to a 10-point game. So now time starting to wind down in the fourth. Chicago has got to find a way to put points on the board. They once again go down the field, but on 3rd and 5, Caleb Williams just missed his receiver at the back of the end zone because he took a shot. He missed. They have to now kick a field goal. It's 23-16. Baltimore now with the ball in their hands, they have to go down the field and make sure they pick up a couple first downs, force the Bears to utilize their timeouts and get it done. They picked up a couple first downs, but then they find themselves in a 3rd down situation. Chicago is on the verge of getting the football back, down 7, and on this 3rd down play, Tyler Huntley throws the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, and Hopkins makes the catch for the first down. Now, if you take a look at the play, there was a lot of hand fighting from both the receiver and the defender, but it honestly looked like there was a brief moment where DeAndre Hopkins got a piece of the defender's face mask. And just taking a look at it, it's a high level of possibility that a face mask call should have been called there, but the refs apparently did not see the face mask. Both the receiver and the defender were hand fighting, so there was a lot of contact by both sides, but there was just a brief touch of the face mask that probably should have been a penalty. The refs didn't see it. They didn't call it. First down Ravens. From there, the Ravens just kept running the ball. Keaton Mitchell was getting a lot of great runs in this game. They chose to utilize Keaton Mitchell a lot, something they should have been doing from the beginning of the season, but here we are. They utilized Keaton Mitchell a lot here. It was great to see that. That was good on them for utilizing Keaton Mitchell, and Keaton Mitchell was popping up a couple of good runs to pick up some first downs, and he continued to move the chains for them. All of a sudden, they get down to the goal line, again up by 7, and they're looking to punch their ticket in to ice this game. And you get it with a Derrick Henry touchdown. Second touchdown run for Derrick Henry of this game. 2-yard run for him for the touchdown. 2-touchdown day for Derrick Henry, 30-16. At this point, the game is virtually over. There's no more timeouts for the Chicago Bears. They go down the field, but ultimately they get stopped at the goal line. And it's a turnover on downs, and that ultimately ends the game. So the Baltimore Ravens win this game 30-16. They advance to 2-5 on the season. They keep their season alive, and they've got a game on Thursday Night Football against the Dolphins, which could put them in a position to be in 3-5, and then have a mini bye week coming off of a bye week already. So we'll see what happens there. But in this game, Caleb Williams, he had a bit of a rough game here because the Ravens defense actually made him work today. 25 of 38, 285 yards passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and a passer rating of 77. The Chicago Bears only rushed for 96 yards. They could not really get the run game going for the most part, but they had some good runs here and there. In terms of the passing game, again, Odunze was really cooking. Like I said, Nate Wiggins had some problems with him, but ultimately he made the biggest play of the game by undercutting Odunze, getting in front of him, running the route, and picking off Caleb Williams. So good on Nate Wiggins for getting that play and recovering. So yeah, Odunze was going off. DJ Moore also had his plays as well. Odunze 7 catches, 114 yards. DJ Moore 4 catches for 73 yards. They were doing their thing, but ultimately it was not enough. As for Tyler Huntley, he had a great game and did what he needed to do. 17 of 22 passing, 186 yards, a touchdown, no interception, passer rating of 116.9. The Ravens running game was able to be active here. They rushed for 177 yards here. Derrick Henry with 71. Tyler Huntley had a bunch of runs. He had 53 rushing yards. Keaton Mitchell had 4 carries and had 43 yards. Keaton Mitchell is a different element that they can bring to this offense. He averaged 10.8 yards per rush. They need to utilize Keaton Mitchell a lot more moving forward. We'll just have to see with that. But the Ravens were able to get the running game going. In the passing game, not too much, but just enough to make the plays that needed to be made. Zay Flowers, 7 catches, 63 yards. Rashad Bateman, 2 receptions, 51 yards. 3 catches for 34 yards for Mark Andrews. He did have that fumble after the catch. I know Ravens flock is definitely heated about that because he still can't hold on to the ball, but it is what it is. Ultimately, it wasn't a turnover, so that's good on him for at least making the catch, but he's got to hold on to the football. DeAndre Hopkins had 1 reception for 14 yards, a huge catch in a huge moment of the game. Charlie Kolar also had 1 reception for 10 yards and the touchdown, so that was also great there for the most part. In terms of the defense, the Chicago Bears only got 2 sacks on Tyler Huntley, so he was left relatively clean. That is a good aspect there. Baltimore still can't be able to generate sacks. They only got 1 sack on Caleb Williams, but the pressure was good enough to force Caleb Williams to make a couple mistakes and make some errant throws, some throws behind the receivers, just not the best. So the defense did their job today. The defense did their job. You got the 1 interception from Nate Wiggins in a huge moment. Defense did their job. Special teams did their job. Once again, Tyler Loop making all his kicks and the extra points. Overall, the Ravens did their jobs defensively. The Ravens did their jobs offensively. Special teams did their jobs, put us in good position with the return game and our kicker making all the kicks. Again, this was the most complete game. Not a lot of moments where you looked at Todd Monken and said the play calling was confusing or bad. Not a lot of moments when you looked at Zachary Orr and he looked like he didn't know what he was doing. It actually felt like it was a good game planned from Zachary Orr. He actually looked like he knew what he was doing today, so that's a good thing. And John Harbaugh didn't make any crazy mistakes or any dumb decisions, or actually didn't do anything wrong today. Honestly, coaching staff was on point from top to bottom, and the players executed from top to bottom. It wasn't an easy game. You're missing Lamar Jackson still. They did everything they needed to do to make sure they win this game. So I got nothing to really say about this team in terms of any negative aspects here. They did everything right. This is how the Ravens should be operating on a week-to-week basis. Win or lose, this is the Ravens we expect to see on a week-to-week basis. Just operating like a team that actually knows what they're doing, operating like a franchise that actually knows what they're doing, operating the way the Ravens have always operated. This is how they're supposed to look. So they did their job. Congrats to them. They're now 2-5. Is the season back? No. There's way too many games that have to be played, and we have to see how things are going to go. They are not back, but there is that flicker of hope The Ravens are still alive. There is still a pulse. Today showcased that there's still a pulse with this team. They're still alive, and they still have a chance to get back into it. They're not officially back into it yet. At 2-5, you are not back into it. But you have an opportunity to get yourself back into it. Baltimore plays Miami Thursday night. There's a chance Lamar Jackson will play in that game, but if that's not the case, Tyler Huntley will get the start. Everybody is back and as healthy as they can be. Thursday night in Miami, you win that game, you go to 3-5, and you'll get a mini bye week. So if Lamar Jackson is able to play in that game and we win, you get that mini bye week, and Lamar, any other complications with that hamstring will definitely be figured out by then. If Lamar can't go, he will definitely be back for that Vikings game 10 days later. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. But Tyler Huntley, he gets the job done. Derrick Henry, he shows up. Zay Flowers makes plays. Rashad Bateman makes plays. D-Hop makes the biggest play of the game because that catch was needed. Charlie Kolar gets the only touchdown reception from Tyler Huntley. The defense makes stops. The defense got that pick. Another play that was arguably the biggest play of the game by Nate Wiggins. And overall, the team gets a 30-16 victory in a must-win game. So congrats to the Ravens for winning this game. Hopefully you will start to stack wins, but we cannot make that assumption just yet. We take this week to week, game to game, and see how things go, and we'll assess from there. We'll see what happens Thursday night. But with that being said, guys, that's all I've got here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and the Ravens gotta win. First time in the month, the Ravens gotta win. So Ravens flock, just be happy they won. Please, 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 please. Take this one game at a time. Take this 1 week at a time. We play Thursday night. We'll see what happens. But let's enjoy this win for today and move forward towards the Dolphins because they're also fighting for their season. We'll see what happens in Miami. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I'm out of here. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out. See you later, guys.